I'm a big believer in contextual teaching, meaning that I like to create a training environment that's very similar to the playing environment. So I like to do a lot of live ball drilling. You could certainly do some basket fed drills or dead ball drills. That's all fine if you have the time, but I think creating that environment that's more similar to your playing environment is always good, because oftentimes some of the problems are more related to the context that you're playing in rather than maybe a technical issue. So creating an environment that's very similar to your playing environment gives the coach the ability to be aware of things that might be breaking down under certain contexts, under certain playing conditions. And tennis is a very dynamic game. There's a lot of movement, footwork, and you want to be sure that you're capturing things that are more dynamic in nature. In other words, it could be the movement into the shot rather than some technical problem. So in this case, we're working on this player's backhand, but we're doing it in context. In other words, we're not just hitting 40 backhands in a row. We are doing things more similar to a live point. So this player's getting forehands and backhands. You just have to be aware of the things that you see during these live point situations, and also be careful watching a lot of YouTube instructional videos. I was just watching a video recently, and the coach was talking about the separation angle between the shoulders and the hips. And if you notice in this particular player, he has pretty good separation angle between the shoulders and the hips. In fact, if you take a look at this angle is actually pretty good. But in this case, this is part of the root cause of this player, in the fact that he's getting his hands a little bit too far on the inside. So again, he's got very good separation angle, but watching this YouTube video, we might think that, oh, we need to add additional separation angle. But in fact, that's not really the problem in this player's situation. In this player's case, the hands are really too much on the inside, in my opinion. So that's partly because of the shoulder turn, partly because of this foot a little bit too closed here. Just in general, the more that we can get the hands on the same line, on the same runway, as the same plane as our target, then just the simpler things are going to be. And this player is going to have to get his hands on this runway and then pull from that position. And that just creates, more complexity. So if we take a look at this video, you can see that there is some separation angle, certainly. The shoulders are turned a little bit more than the hips. But look where the hands are. They're not back in here on the inside. So it's going to be much easier to pull from this position. So if you take a look again, notice how the hands are staying on the left side of the body, which is going to make it much easier to hit to this cross-court target by keeping the hands on the outside of the body and just simply pulling. So we want to keep things as simple as possible. And watching YouTube videos, might complicate things a bit. I saw another video where a player was doing a lot of backhand drills right here in the center of the court, and I made a comment that that's not really realistic. I mean, most male players are going to be hitting forehands. As you notice, Rublev is hitting forehands on the backhand side of the court, and that's pretty common. So when I talk about contextual teaching, then we need to create this environment where we're moving to the ball into this backhand court. If we're just standing here in the middle of the court hitting backhands, well, that's not really realistic. That's likely not going to happen in a match. If you're hitting backhands in the middle of the court, then to ask why are you hitting backhands in the middle of the court? You should be working on your forehands in the middle of the court. So again, if we just take a look at where the hands are in relation to the target plane, the runway, you can see that from this position it's going to be very easy to pull down that runway, whereas if his hands were more on the inside, then that would create some challenges and potentially some inconsistencies. So we want to just look at things from a contextual perspective and keep things as simple as possible. And I think if you just take small steps, make incremental changes, trying to get better from this week to next week, it'll be much better than trying to make big changes in your game.